Basically, this government is preventing journalists from getting access to information, which was not even during the days of emergency.
There are journalists who had covered Parliament for 10 years. They are not having access to Parliament now.
We think that basically they are denying access to information.
The ambience is different. It's like saying, watch a cricket match. Why do you want to go to a cricket match in a stadium? You enjoy. The ambience is different, right?
I think these blocks, these curves, they are completely undemocratic.
What I am saying is that remove first COVID restrictions. Allow journalists to come in.
The inaugural session of the 18th Lok Sabha made headlines for being one of the most lively sessions we've seen in recent times. At the gates of the parliament, however, there was a very different uproar taking place. Journalist bodies and opposition parties have been writing to the Speaker of the Houses with a very simple request to let the media exercise their right to cover parliamentary proceedings.
Basically, this government and the parliament, they are not allowing all the journalists to cover the parliament proceedings and make the politicians there. So we think that basically they are denying access to information.
There are journalists who had covered Parliament for 10 years. They are not having access to Parliament now because they have a different idea. They are not supporting the divisive opposition, divisive idea of BJP. So there are correspondents, there are reporters who had covered Parliament, young reporters who had covered with different stories, and others are not having access to Parliament.
That's why we have decided to, once again, we should raise this issue to the Speaker. And I think we could have written to Chairman that we can do it later on. So we wrote to Speaker, please allow all the journalists a free access. Otherwise, it amounts to the muzzling media.
The issue is urgent but not particularly new. Let's go back to 2020 when the COVID-19 outbreak reached India. The Lok Sabha Secretariat suspended various entries such as public gallery passes, visits of the general public to the complex, and also restricted journalists' access to cover it.
Somewhere around the time of COVID, this issues changed. Obviously, all of us went through the pandemic and a lot of restrictions had to be placed because to control the scourge. So the access which members of media had, or in fact everybody who was associated with Parliament had to reduce their presence inside because of the social distancing norms.
COVID came and the new Parliament was built. They completely blocked those free access to the journalists.
That was 4 years ago. Much has changed since then, including the very building where the Parliament conducts its proceedings. COVID-19 is no longer a global health pandemic. Most of the population is vaccinated, masks are no longer a requirement, and MPs are not attempting to maintain public distance in the Parliament anymore. The only thing that has not changed is restrictions for journalists covering the Parliament.
What I am asking is that let us remove the COVID restriction story. COVID is over. Now nobody is wearing a mask. Then why COVID restrictions?
Basically, this government is preventing journalists from getting access to information, which was not even during the days of emergency. Even during the emergency, Parliament was on. Though the journalists were harassed, arrested, that's true. Media was muzzled, that's true. Media reports were censored, that's true. But journalists had some access.
In the last 4 years, journalist bodies such as the Press Club of India and Editors Guild of India and leaders from political parties such as the Indian National Congress and the Trinamool Congress have made repeated interventions to the Speaker of the House to uplift the restrictions on journalists.
It's a very clear thing that the COVID restrictions has to be removed, and I'll keep on raising my voice, and I'll ask, there are a lot of friends that supported my voice, and we will unite if in the Parliament session also, if they are not in the next budget session when we meet again. If they are not doing the changes, we will again raise it, and I'll get more support for that.
Journalists told us that currently, only a few of them are given access to cover parliamentary proceedings. The selection is done in a manner they described as arbitrary. They said it was not feasible for them to rely on Sansad TV for parliamentary updates and that this could set a precedent for media access to state assemblies as well.
Sunset TV or any other TV, means government, they show only their own perspective, their own, it is only a one-way traffic.
If there's a contentious issue, one sees a lot of jostling happening around. It may not necessarily physical. What I meant was you see the kind of people, the way their reactions and all that, and you watch from the gallery and see the ambiance is different. It's like saying, watch a cricket match. Why do you want to go to a cricket match in a stadium? You enjoy, the ambiance is different, right?
And here, if anybody says, I don't know who is saying that journalists can watch Sunset TV and report. Then why Sunset TV? Then block everything and just give a press release in the evening when Parliament shuts at 6 o'clock and issue a press release and say that if you want to publish it, publish it.
The recent Lok Sabha session also saw interventions on the issue by stakeholders. The Press Club of India said that the restriction obstructs the democratic exchange of ideas, limits public discourse, and weakens accountability and transparency of the parliamentary system. Congress MP Manickam Tagore, meanwhile, said that the continued enforcement of these restrictions is adversely impacting the free and fair coverage of parliamentary proceedings. But between 1929 and 2021, there were advisory committees in the parliament to screen applications and issue passes. The Lok Sabha Advisory Committee and the Rajya Sabha Advisory Committee have ceased to exist after COVID-19.
Trade Advisory Committee actually they reflects the views of the journalists or the problems of journalists or the facilities what should be given. That Press Advisory Committee communicated to the Speaker or the Speaker's Secretariat. But that system has gone.
The new Parliament building does not have a central hall either. This was an open space for MPs across parties as well as journalists to interact freely with each other.
Central Hall is a symbol where people from different parties,
Right.
different ideologies, different friends meets who are in political field, and there are senior most journalists who comes into picture.
People talk to you in an informal atmosphere because nobody is going to attribute anything to anybody. So you get a fair sense of what's happening. And especially if there are very contentious issues which are being, sometimes you notice the leader from the government side or somebody from the opposition side are having a nice chat, sitting in one corner.
That Central Hall was not just a place where people used to come and have snacks and go away. There used to be interactions. There used to be exchange of views and news and information. And I can very well give an example. When this government, the present government, I recall that before, I think it was in 2019, I will not name the minister because otherwise he will lose his job. But we were sitting in a Central Hall because till then Central Hall was open to people like us. So we were sitting and just chit-chatting, and that minister came and just said hello, sat with us. So we said, sir, will you have coffee? So he said, okay, let us have coffee. So we had a coffee and we were just chit-chatting informally. And after having coffee, suddenly he got up and said, okay, I will leave. So we just said that, अरे हम तो थोड़े से गपशप कर रहे हैं, तो आप जल्दी क्यों जा रहे? बोले, no, I am under surveillance. So we said, we are sitting in Central Hall. So he just winked above and he said that there are cameras here. So better I leave. So this is also an example or an incident which I can relate.
The Central Hall also holds great significance for being the place where Nehru gave the famous Tryst with Destiny speech in 1947.
We made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge.
And the place where lengthy discussions regarding what would go into the Constitution of India was debated between 1946 and 1949. The provision of issuing passes to senior retired journalists under the long and distinguished service has also been discreetly discontinued.
For instance, the Rajya Sabha has issued it. I'm not sure about Lok Sabha, but the Rajya Sabha has it. And again, let me tell you, to qualify for L&D, you must have at least 20 years of reportage.
I'm told by senior journalists who have L&D passes from Rajya Sabha. But in Lok Sabha, they have cancelled it.
So the old L&D passes are not
valid? No. They're all cancelled.
With the House gearing up for another session very soon, journalist bodies and opposition parties said that they will be increasing the pressure on this issue. It remains to be seen whether the Modi government, which has been criticized for curtailing press freedom, will relent on this issue. Remember that a free press is very important for the proper functioning of a democracy. At Newslaundry, we don't take any ads from corporates or any governments. So if you're not a subscriber already, head on to newslaundry.com and choose a subscription plan of your choice. Help us bring you stories of public interest, and as always, pay to keep news free.
Journalism at Newslaundry is powered by the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Visit newslaundry.com/subscription and pick a payment plan of your choice. Pay to keep news free and independent. Your future, and indeed the future of democracy, depends on it.